Cancer is everywhere across the animal kingdom. We even recently found a dinosaur fossil with bone cancer that's 75 million years old. But some animals get cancer very rarely, while others are basically guaranteed to if they live long enough. So why do some get so lucky? Why hasn't evolution selected cancer out of all species? I interviewed scientists about a fascinating new theory that could explain why we see the cancer rates we do, and a big part of it is that cancer could actually be beneficial in some species. But before we hear from them, I need to show you something. This is the difference in the weight and the number of cells between a mouse and a giraffe. But even though the giraffe has 40,000 times more cells than the mouse and lives longer, it gets less cancer. This is Peto's paradox. We would expect the giraffe to be riddled with tumors, given the fact that it has so many more cells susceptible to the mutations that cause cancer than a mouse does. And yet that's the opposite of what we see. Well, we do know that large animals have evolved some natural defenses against cancer, like elephants, which have many more copies of the p53 tumor suppressor gene, which means each one of their cells has to accrue many more mutations before it becomes cancerous. Or whales, which have evolved excellent DNA repair mechanisms so that each cell's chance of getting mutated in the first place is lower. But this leads to an even more intriguing question. Given that they developed such great cancer defenses, clearly evolution has a way of selecting for these. So why did they get so lucky? Is it just large animals that are spared because they need these defenses in order to get so big in the first place? No, actually. There are quite small mammals that have ridiculously low rates of cancer as well, like naked mole rats in particular, but even squirrels as well. So what gives? Why are some animals, both big and small, spared from cancer? This demands a satisfying explanation.
There are a lot of species that develop molecular mechanisms in order to resist cancer. So this means that cancer is not necessary. It's not necessary that we die from cancer. And in the other hand, you find these other species which seems to be like specialists in having cancer. They die from cancer, like carnivores, like lions, tigers, also some canids, like wolves. So why is that some species develop these mechanisms and some other not?
Let's talk about the traditional explanations for why we see these different rates of cancer.
Well, we have two mainstream explanations. One is called antagonistic pleiotropy. The other explanation, cancer is somehow invisible for evolution.
So the traditional explanation is that the genes that cause an animal to grow and heal really fast also increase the animal's risk of getting cancer. But by that time, the animal's usually already reproduced and its babies are running around continuing its genome out into the world. So evolution is effectively blind to the fact that those fast growth genes also caused it to get cancer later in life. But this still leaves us with a puzzle because clearly some animals could develop defenses against cancer. Peto's paradox shows us that, and so do low rates of cancer in animals like naked mole rats. So what gives? This new theory delivers a much more satisfying explanation. An animal's social lifestyle can actually incentivize higher or lower rates of cancer. So if that animal competes with members of its own species more, it's likely to have higher cancer rates. But if that animal cooperates with members of its own species, it incentivizes lower cancer rates.
So nobody before has tried to understand if there is some kind of coevolution between these variables and those related to cancer.
So maybe starting with the cooperative side, because I feel that that's a little bit more intuitive to understand. What are the patterns that you saw for the prevalence of cancer amongst mammals?
We found strong correlations with living in groups, a strong correlation with lower levels of cancer. Then also breeding in groups. We also found that the longer the gestation length, the lower the cancer incidence.
So rates of cancer in mammals correlate quite nicely with some key lifestyle behaviors of cooperation versus competition within their own species. And this is quite intuitive and easy to understand when it comes to cooperative mammals. If I'm investing a lot of resources into my young and increasing the chance that they survive, thrive, and reproduce, then it makes a lot of sense for evolution to select for lineages where I, the parent, stay alive for longer, and therefore my offspring have a greater chance of surviving and reproducing. But why would evolution ever select for higher cancer rates? Like, how does that benefit that organism, its species, or its own lineage?
Let's turn now to, I feel like, the much less intuitive side, and the really striking thing about this modeling is how cancer would be positively selected for in competitive species, and perhaps help us understand what really defines competition in this sense.
Okay, so why a lot of species have cancer and why there is a correlation between being competitive and having higher cancer levels. We have the seniors. They don't reproduce as much as they used to, but they still consume a lot of food, like territorial. They don't let the other animals to feed. They don't let the other animals to reproduce. Sometimes they even kill some of the juveniles.
So we can see that getting cancer as a social animal that cares for their offspring or your grandchildren and increases their chance of survival and reproduction doesn't make any sense in the world. But on the flip side, if a species quickly gives birth to lots of babies, which then compete with the parents for resources like mates, territory, or food, then removing the parents, the older individuals, from the scene can actually free up resources for the young to thrive and therefore have a greater chance of reproducing and passing on their gene. So a gene that could increase the risk of cancer could paradoxically increase the probability that that genome is passed on. So mammal lifestyles correlate quite nicely with their rates of cancer, and this is a great example of the quote that nothing in biology makes sense except in the light of evolution. I want to say a big thank you to Professor Matías Blaustein, Julian Maxwell, and the rest of their team that published this research, and thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, then please fucking annihilate that like button, and if you didn't, leave me a comment letting me know what I can improve on. I also have a newsletter so you can get insights like this straight into your inbox. Thanks a bunch and have a great day.